Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Today I want to do a little my thoughts on. I'm hoping it won't go too long, but knowing what I'm like, this could go rather long really. So today I want to talk about a little bit of hinting, a little bit of a teaser that we got earlier in the week. Because there is another battle tome heading to Age of Sigmar and I wish to discuss it. If you hear any background noise, by the way, I do apologise. It's St. Patrick's Day at the time of recording, and apparently that gets very shouty in the middle of the afternoon for the French. Details. Anyway, what I wish to talk about today is the Idoneth Deepkin. The Idoneth Deepkin we know literally almost nothing about. We got the little goldfish thing, which I'm pretty sure is linked with this, and then we got this image as part of the preview for the Gamma trade show on Warhammer Community. So we know that these guys are going to be the next battle tome for the Forces of Order, but what are they? Well, many people have many theories, most of them revolving around Cthulhu, because look at all the tentacles, just people go straight to Cthulhu. So what I want to do with my thoughts on today is not just talk about the Idoneth Deepkin as a faction and what I think they're going to bring to the game. I also want to try and flex my lore muscles a little and try and give you a little bit of information about elves in the Mortal Realms and how the Idoneth came to be. And to help me with that, I have the Daughters of Cain battle tome on hand, because this actually helped to flesh some of those details out. So, the best place to start is all the way back in the Age of Myth, back before basically anything existed. We didn't really have, chaos didn't really exist in the Mortal Realms. It did exist, of course, because it always does. But this was the time before chaos invaded the Mortal Realms. And Morathi, Malerion, Tyrion, and Teclis were the big elven players. Morathi had freed herself from Slaanesh. Malerion, Tyrion, and Teclis were all gods. Morathi, I need to specify, is not a god, and especially is not a god at this time. Morathi spent a lot of time after her escape wandering around in Orgu, the Realm of Shadow, looking for other elves like her. I think she was still in sort of super serpent demon form at this time, but she was looking for elves, and she couldn't find any. Eventually she found Malerion, who is of course, or was, Malekith, which is Morathi's son, and the two sort of allied in their hunt. And the only place they could find elves, pretty much, was Azerheim, the realm of Sigmar in the realm of heavens. And so they were rather not happy about it. But they joined up with the Grand Alliance, with part of their goals being to find more elves to get back. They didn't have much luck. However, Nagash accidentally or deliberately wound up Morathi, who snapped and went from elf form to snake form, and she ran away. She got very angry, and then she got very ashamed, is probably not a terrible word for it, and legged it. She went completely into hiding. And such was the situation for a while. However, either because Tzeentch sold them out, or just through good magic, Teclis discovered Slaanesh, and the fact that Slaanesh had been gorging itself in secret on the souls that it consumed during the end times of the world that was. And those souls were, guess what, elven, because apparently the elves and the Eldari just get the same fate these days. Dunno. Details. So, Teclis and Tyrion and Malerion are, right, we can get these elves back if we can capture Slaanesh. So they went and found Morathi, and they did. I very much paraphrased that. Basically, Morathi was hunted down eventually by Malerion, who convinced her to come and help because she hates Slaanesh with every fibre of her being, and her magic and everybody else combined to capture Slaanesh. After that, they began to siphon very slowly elven souls away from Slaanesh. That's basically what they've been doing with Slaanesh ever since the Age of Myth. They've got him captured between the realm of light and the realm of shadow, siphoning off souls to create new life. Now, Morathi would use the portion of souls she was assigned to create the Melusai and the Daughters of Cain as a faction. And that's more what this book goes into. But it makes mention of the Idoneth. The Idoneth were, and I'm roughly quoting, the first enclave of Teclis, the first thing created by Teclis, was the Idoneth, and they were a failure. They were a disappointment who fled all contact with the god and mortals and disappeared. That's it. That is all that the Daughters of Cain battle tome tells us. There may be other mentions of it elsewhere of what the Idoneth were, but they were, in essence, the first elves created by Teclis after he got his portion of souls from Slaanesh for the first time. And they were a failure. Teclis failed in whatever he was doing. And that meant that they ran off. They were a failure and they ran. And they went into hiding. We don't know where exactly they went, for they are only mentioned being in one place in this battle tome. In Gyron, I don't know what that noise was. In Gyron, bands of Idoneth Deepkin emerge and capture a war pilgrimage of the Craith, assisting Alariel in the War of Life. Realizing that they are not easy targets, these mysterious aquatic beings try to negotiate a truce, but the Craith are implacable and pursue them into the waves. That is all we know of the Idoneth Deepkin. The Idoneth themselves were the first elves created by Teclis. The Idoneth Deepkin are what they've become. Mysterious aquatic beings. As heavily referenced here by the cracked, sort of like wavy filter on the screen. The blues and greens have a lot of sea-ish hues. And you've got the tentacles, and you had the goldfish thing a while ago, which is probably linked to them, that make you think, yes, they are sea elves. But are they just elves that can swim and that are amphibious? Are they merpeople? Are they like full-on Cthulhu elves? We don't know. And they are absolutely fascinating. Absolutely, truly, utterly fascinating are the Idoneth Deepkin. They really, really, really are so interesting, and I want to know. We don't know when we're going to get the Idoneth Deepkin as a release, because at the moment, the Tau Codex at time of release has just come out. Forgebane is next, and that will probably be very swiftly followed by the Necron Codex. So either the Idoneth Deepkin are going to come before the Necron Codex, or they're going to come after it. So they're going to be either in the next 2 or the next 3 releases, unless they pull a fast one and they do it in a very different order. Bear in mind that Adepticon is coming up very, very soon, so we may get more information on them in the coming week or so about what the Idoneth Deepkin are and more about their release. Look at the models. We're in a very speculatory phase right now. So let's go over what we know gameplay-wise, because it's very, very little. All we really know, their order. And that's interesting in some ways, and it also has its concerns. Them being order makes sense because they are elves. Because the rule of thumb for a faction is if they are anti-chaos, if they are anti-chaos, alive, and like civilization of some sort, they are de facto order. That is why the Daughters of Cain are order, though you'd expect them to be maybe chaos. Because Morathi hates Slaanesh with everything she's got. They don't want to be dead because they quite like being alive. And they have their cities and they quite like to visit the other cities, creating their shrines and whatnot. They like a little bit of order. And also they signed an alliance with Sigmar during the beginning of the Age of Sigmar. So that is why they are order. And the Idoneth Deepkin I expect to be the same. They were created by Teclis and were originally created from souls trapped by Slaanesh. Them liking chaos is extremely unlikely. You have to be dead to serve death, unless you're a necromancer, pretty much. I could be missing the odd person. But generally you want to be either dead or in command of the dead in order to serve the faction of death. And the Idoneth do not do that. As for destruction, that's an interesting one. Because You could say that the fact they were created by Teclis gives them a natural affinity with order, but they ran away. Maybe they're just so secretive and don't want to ravage the land in such a way. They just want their own isolation. They just want to be left alone. So they fight to defend themselves, and that is more what order does. They fight to defend themselves and to defend the lands that are theirs and stop them being destroyed by the ravages of chaos or destruction or just being left for dead by the forces of death. So that's probably why they're order. How they'll fit into the Grand Alliance, I'm very, very curious. Do they have an Orion, like a ruler who's a demigod? Do they have an Alariel, who's an actual god? Or is it more of a Marathi situation where they had an original ruler who is now ascended to become some sort of entity? Or do they just worship a being that isn't there? So are they like... I'm trying to think... Yeah, well, the Empire in the old world, who worshipped Sigmar, even though Sigmar wasn't around, because in the mortal realms today, the gods and mortals walk the same planes. So it's kind of hard to say they worship something that isn't there. Something that might be a good analogy might be the Great Maw of the ogres, or the never-ending winter that the Beastclaw Raiders are always running away from, or the concept of the Wa, not Gorka Morka, the Wa itself, as something that could be venerated? Is it going to be a concept that they worship? Are they going to worship anything at all? Or are they just going to be a agnostic or an atheistic society, no gods, no masters, who sort of talk to Sigmar and co and will work with them, but are generally quite isolationist? And what is their society going to be like? Oh, fun, 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 fun. Are they going to be little roaming colonies that sort of just travel around like shoals of fish? Is it going to be that they have like Atlantis-esque underwater cities, which would be very cool, by the way, just FYI? Or is it going to be like deep underground lairs where they conduct rituals if you want to go down the whole Cthulhu route? It's so intriguing. I just want to mention that with Cthulhu, I can't see them going all in on something very Cthulhu-ish, because bear in mind, this is the modern age of Games Workshop and the age of Sigmar, where referencing is fine, stealing is something else entirely. Notice the name change Eldar to Eldari. That has something to do with Tolkien. You can't really go head-to-head with Lovecraft and try to steal too much from him. You can homage the ideas and have them go down a bit of a worship of a dark entity beneath the waves, Cthulhu route, by all means, but don't go too on the nose with Cthulhu, because that's just not the way Games Workshop operate. They want the Idoneth to be very much their own IP, their own unique thing. So just got to bear that in mind. That is just so interesting, and I can't wait to see what they get, both for lore and for models and for rules, because there are so many routes they could go down. They could go down the Strike from the Deeps route, where they could just pop up anywhere, but that then infringes on the Stormcast gimmick of teleporting everybody in. They might go down the Fanatical Defender route, but they've got to be careful how they handle that, because that doesn't really suit them if they're entirely aquatic, because it says aquatic, not amphibious. I bear in mind that my book is in French, so it might be that they are amphibious and can come out onto land, and I think they'll kind of have to for the sake of the plot. But how are they going to make them work? There's just so many interesting ideas. There is one final caveat I wish to mention, and it is the fact, again, that they're Order. Order has a lot of factions. We know this. And that's the case in the General's Handbook as well. There are more Order factions than there are Chaos, Death, and Destruction factions, perhaps even more than 2 or 3 of them combined. As a result, there are just a lot more Order battle tomes that have to come out. I'm slightly concerned by the fact that we are very low in battle tomes for especially Destruction. Death has just picked up Malign Importance and Legions of Nagash. Legions of Nagash will probably tide over a lot of Death players for a while. And you have Flesh Eater Courts. If that's not the route you want to go down, you can have some fun with that. Chaos, well, Nurgle, Khorne, and Tzeentch are all represented. The Horned Rat has Clan Pestilence. Slaanesh has nothing right now, and we could do with more Skaven. I'm thinking we're going to get Slaanesh pretty soon, especially if we get another Elven faction very, very soon. I.e., we get Kane, we get the Idoneth, we maybe get either Malerian or Tyrian or Teclis' elves, and then we get Slaanesh's faction to sort of counterbalance with all of them. But Destruction is getting a little left behind. There is only Bone Splitters, Beastclaw Raiders, and Iron Jaws that I'm aware of that exist. There are no Goblin factions. There is no Foot-Mounted Ogre faction. The Giant faction has not been really blessed with anything yet. The Ale Guzzlers, I think they're called, or the Gargants faction, or whatever they are. I think they could do more with Destruction, and I hope that we get more Destruction releases in the not-too-distant future, because there is options for them. There really are. You've got the heavy-armoured orcs, you've got the savage orcs, but there's plenty in between. And you've also got, of course, the goblins, or as they're now known, the grots. Oh, so many options. So that's just a bit of a little asterisk on the Idoneth Deepkin, is they're another order faction, and we kind of need stuff that isn't order for the sake of having a bit more representation for all factions. But kind of like with the Imperium in 40k, and I made an entirely separate video on this a long time ago, I know why there are more of that faction being released. There are just more of them available to release, and there's more stuff to do with them. I get it, I don't like it, but I get it. But that's an asterisk, and I have to say I'm really looking forward to the Idoneth Deepkin. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are they going to be before or after the Necrons, do you think, as a release? So are we going to get Forgebane Idoneth Necrons, or Forgebane Necrons Idoneth, or some other order entirely? Because we're going to get the Drakari out there not too soon, not too far off. So there's so many things that we need to think about with the release schedule. Are we going to get them fully previewed at Adepticon, or are we going to have to wait a little bit longer because they'll show off the Necrons at Adepticon? How are they going to fit in lore-wise? Because I've given you what lore I know, but what else do we know? I might leave a link in the description to AOS Shorts. I think it's aosshorts.com, which is a really nice little AOS lore site. I'll see if I can find that, and I'll link that in the description if you want to go and try and learn a little bit more. And let me know what you think of what they look like model-wise, rule-wise, anything else-wise, and just what you think about them as a whole. Because I know the Daughters of Cain have really helped get people inspired for Age of Sigmar, and I hope the Idoneth Deepkin allow for more of that. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you have enjoyed it. This has been Tactica Imperialis, and I'm sure that either through live stream or a separate video, I'll be giving my thoughts on the preview, proper preview for the Idoneth Deepkin in the not too distant future. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and goodbye.